Hi, and welcome back to the Programming Ninox Learning Series. In our last class, we introduced the concept of triggers when we looked at buttons. A trigger is a block of code that executes automatically when something happens. Now, there are 4 different types of triggers, 3 of them automatically executed by Ninox, and 1 of them executed manually by the user. The manual triggers are the buttons and the clickable formulas that we studied in class 112. Like the code and the code levels that we discussed in our first class, class 100, triggers can exist at 3 different levels within our Ninox application. At the highest level, we have application triggers. So I'm going to go into administrative mode at my application desktop, go under the Options tab, and here we see an application or trigger after open. And what this trigger does is find the first record in the accounting table, which is our accounting dashboard, and open it in full screen mode. Since this is the trigger after open trigger, this is going to happen immediately after a user opens the application. So let's exit the application and then re-enter. And we will see that the system automatically went to record number 1 of the accounting table, which is our accounting dashboard, and opened it in full screen mode, which means it takes up the whole screen with the left-hand navigation panel being hidden. So that is an application level trigger, something that happens at the highest level, at the application level, every time the application gets opened. One step down from the application trigger, or the trigger after open, are table level triggers. Let's go look at our transaction table. And here we see that we have a field called transaction number, and the highest current transaction number is transaction number 10,000. We want a trigger that will automatically increment every next transaction by 1. So if the current last transaction is 10,000 and we enter a new record, we have a table level trigger that opens the next record as 10,001. And as we add records, we can see here in the transaction number, the transaction number is incremented by 1. This is a table level trigger. Let's go take a look by going into the Edit Table or the Table Object screen. And here we see there are 2 triggers at the table level. There's the trigger when a new record is created, and there's a trigger when the current record is modified in any way. The trigger on creation, the trigger that gets executed every time a new record is created in the table, says, let's select the transactions in the transaction table, and let's find the maximum transaction number. We'll add 1 to it, and that will be the transaction number of this new transaction. And to see it again in action at the table level, as we add records, whether we're adding them here or adding them here. When we add a new record, the transaction number is updated automatically via the table level trigger. Now the other table level trigger is after update. And what this will do is it will execute whatever block of code is here every time anything in the record changes. If we edit this record in any way, the table level trigger after update will execute every time. And then at the lowest level, we have our field level triggers. Here we have the vendor field. This is a lookup field where we select a vendor that is going to sell us the inventory that we're purchasing via this transaction. What we want to do is whenever we select a vendor, we want that vendor's phone number to automatically be put into this phone number field. We do this with a field level trigger, and that is accessed here in the More Options section of the field definition. Here we have the trigger after update, and the code states that the contact phone number field on the transaction will equal the sales phone number for the vendor that is selected in the vendor field. Here we see the vendor field, and each time we select, that vendor's phone number is automatically populated into this field. So we have application level triggers, which execute every time a user enters the application. We have table level triggers that execute every time a new record is added to a table or every time an existing record is modified in a table. And finally, we have field level triggers, which execute every time a change is made to a particular field. It's important to note that field level triggers can affect other fields in this record, other fields in different records of the same table, or other tables. Similarly, table level triggers can affect other tables in the system. So while the code is localized at the table or the field level, the effect of the trigger, the effect of the code, can extend throughout the entire application. In our next class, we're going to look at a new object, the embedded view. I'll see you there. Visit us at www.nioxis.com. Here, you can learn about different Ninox solutions. You can get tech support through our Ninox Help Desk, which is available 7 days a week, or you can schedule private one-on-one concierge sessions for training, or we can help you build your application. And if you haven't done so already, sign up for our free Ninox Learning Lab. We do this every Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. in the UK, 6 p.m. Central European Time. These free hour-long sessions enable you to learn more about Ninox, features, functions, and solutions. We have open Q&A where you can get answers to all your Ninox questions, and you can meet other members of the global Ninox community. We look forward to seeing you there.